Yeah, hello. After a long time without making any video, I would like to present you another, for me, very special watch. This is an Omega hand-wind vintage from 60s, most likely from mid-60s. And this watch has a very small hand-wind movement. It's a 620 caliber, which is a very small caliber, for mostly used, I think, for ladies' watches. Of course, in the red gold plated finishing, as we know that from Omega mechanical calibers from this time. So the movement is going very well. It's very clean, and it is a movement without a second hand. The case is made from 14K 585 full gold. So it's marked with 14K. This is the first hint that that watch was most likely sold for the US market, as European sold models mostly are marked with 585, which is the gold alloy, but in the US mostly with 14K. And you see the hands, I think it's still original black hands, nice golden index, and no second hand. The watch is relatively small. It's 31 millimeter. Thirty-one millimeter over the lux, and in the width is around 26 millimeter. 25 millimeter. So 25 millimeter square. So it's a relatively small watch. I bought that watch very long before, already many years ago. I sold the watch to a good friend of mine, and he borrowed me the watch for making this movie. This watch was very long in my collection, and I really wore that watch in the everyday use. Even if this watch is practically has no waterproof quality, it's absolutely not water isolated. So even washing hands is dangerous for that watch. But in that time, when I bought all these vintage watches, I was not so timid with that. I was not so careful. I just wore the watches. I wore all these vintage watches normally, and was not too afraid of it. So the crown, as you see, seems also original. It's marked with Omega. But the special thing of that watch, why actually I bought that watch in some watch forum, the special thing of that watch is how it is marked here in the basement, the base of the watch, to Larry with all my love, Gail, and the date is 8/20/62, so 20th August 1962. Isn't that wonderful? Usually I don't buy watches with these personal dedications, because, yeah, it's not my watch, right? And I don't feel well with that. But this watch I had to take. I had a good feeling when I saw it in photos, so I really wanted to have it exactly because of this dedication to Larry from Gail. So Larry and Gail, that sounds very American to me. So I think this watch was sold in the United States, and it was a special gift, maybe from girlfriend or from wife to her partner. And I want to believe that this watch brought a lot of happiness and luck to Larry. I even wrote a little story about that watch some years ago when I was starting a little hobby with writing stories and writing texts, and I was wondering how this watch came to Germany and came to that forum, or I think it was not from forum. I think I bought it in eBay. I remember it was from eBay, I think. And I wondered how that watch came from Larry and Gail to eBay, sold by some German in the eBay. How he came to it, yeah. So I made a story about that, imagining how that watch and went from US. Maybe Larry died, and then the heir was not maybe interested in watches and sold it to someone, to some antique shop, and someone, maybe a tourist somewhere in California or in Florida or in New York or in San Francisco, found that watch in the shop and bought it and brought it to Germany, or some American soldier going to Germany brought it. Maybe Larry was the soldier bringing it to Germany. So I really love this, doing research about watches, especially if I find hints. This one is a little bit, of course, difficult to find out who was it, but sometimes we see even family names and maybe companies who gave that to the owner, to the later owner of the watch, and then we can make a research, and then we find out a lot about the history of the watch and about the history of the people who owned that watch. So this watch was especially interesting me, and I had a lot of fantasy or illusions about the story of that watch. I want to believe that that watch has a special positive energy. Even if I'm not believing in too many metaphysic things, I always had watches I wanted to wear all night long, all day long, 24 hours, 7 days, and I had no issues with that. But I also had vintage watches, old watches I could not bear longer than 1 or 2 hours on my arm, feeling that something is wrong with that. At least I had a strange feeling that it's not my watch. I don't want to wear it. I never have that issue with new watches, like my Tudor here, which I bought by myself, not pre-owned, but I have this feeling sometimes with pre-owned things, especially with old things, and especially with watches, because these watches were worn all the time on the arms of someone, and if this person, I just want to believe it, that if this person was happy and lucky and had a good time with it, then maybe it's positive energy for me. And I must say, I had a good time with that watch. This watch accompanied me in many also very important occasions for my life. For example, when I had my most important job presentation, I wore this watch. It's a very nice dress watch indeed, even if it's very small. And yeah, it turned out to be very successful. And yeah, maybe because I had that watch, at least it gave me a good feeling. So this is what I wanted to show you before I give it back to my friend. Maybe I try to find something like this, because nowadays we know that more and more the smaller watches come into fashion again. When I sold that, I found that watch too small for me. So I did not, I felt that it's not my style anymore, as I prefer this more robust, diverse, and so yeah, I sold a big part of my watch collection. What I also like especially are the lugs. See this wonderful shape of it. It's yeah, it's like a reminiscence to the 50s, late 50s and beginning of the 50s, when we had these green watches, these square watches, which are still citing the style of the 30s and the 40s, and then we had that until the 50s. And this is already more simple style, yeah, very close to the typical 60s style. And for that time, already very clear design, yeah, but these slugs here with that swing here in the shape are really special. The watch is very thin, and it has a wonderful glass. You see here this wonderful faceted glass, which I must also say is not easy to get, I think. So this watch is definitely not for everyday life, because if you ruin the glass, it will be hard to replace, I think. And what I also like in the watches from this time is the omega sign is not painted. It's really put on the dial. I want to put the watch on my arm now to show you how it is. My arm is not very thick, so basically I can wear small watches, but I must say, yeah, it is actually it is too small for me. Yeah, so even for me with my thin arm, for me this watch is very feminine, even if I would wear it in certain occasion, but basically for nowadays, especially because it's so thin, it's a very feminine watch. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to show you. I asked my friend to borrow me the watch just to make this movie, because this one is really I would say this is my most special piece. Unfortunately, I had a lot of special pieces I could make wonderful movies about, but I sold them because they were not practical. So this one I'm very lucky that I got access again to it, and I think it's one of the most interesting watches I presented in my videos so far. So if you were interested in that, and if you liked the movie, then I'm happy for a like, and I'm happy if you follow me. And so I say goodbye to you, and I hope for the next month I will have a little bit more time to make some more movie and present you some more pieces of my watch collection. Thank you very much.